So the master's in leadership is the one they want you to get before licensure for principals?
Yeah.
Okay. How long does that take?
Like 3 years,
Okay.
at least. Yeah, it's not fast.
Anything worth doing usually isn't fast.
Yeah, but though, like, you gotta write a goal statement about what your career goals are and why getting a master's in leadership would be helpful in your career goals. I'm struggling about trying not to be too specific.
Why?
Well, because I feel like my like my motivation to get the degree is very specific in wanting to get the job at Peak, and which isn't bad, I don't think. But like in trying to describe my goals, I'm trying to, well, I don't know, to back up. I'm trying to just like start with, okay, what are my actual goals? Broadly speaking. Because like I have that very specific goal of I want to take over Sandwich's job.
Stop using jobs. Stop using names.
Sorry, I know. I thought of that once I said it. I lost my train of thought now.
It's because you were breaking HIPAA.
Nobody's in the hospital.
Yeah, but they can track you down now.
Total side note on them being able to track me down. So, I've been trying to figure out food for the cat forever.
Because she's very picky.
Super picky, and it's ridiculous. And so, anyway, this last time I went to Petco, I bought like 3 different kinds of food. Never said the names of any of these kinds of food out loud. I don't even know. Maybe I've talked a little bit about feeding the cat, I suppose. But one of the brands of the cat food that I just bought at Petco last week showed up on my Instagram timeline without me searching it, without me talking about it, saying it out loud.
Oh.
Freak me out. That is the most freaky phone thing I've seen in ages.
I don't remember the name of it, and you don't need to say the name of it because no free advertising for you creeps. But it's one that comes in a pack of 2 that you separate. No, okay, that must have been a different one because I got like 3 different cat food ads.
You just suddenly got them too?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It just but and it's like the one I got is like, in my observation of the universe, fairly obscure and specific and freaky. I'm 100% certain I never even said it out loud. Anyway, sorry, total tangent.
No, it's not a total tangent. Somebody's tracking you down.
So freaky. And the world is terrifying right now, and I was freaking out about that yesterday.
Yeah. So 3 years of masters, and then the licensure for principal after that is the current plan.
Something like that. Yeah.
That seems doable.
Yeah, and like I think with that masters, you can just kind of tack on the principal thing at the end of the masters. It's with
cool.
and it's, if I understood it right, it's just like 9 extra credits at the end of the masters if you do it that way, instead of, I can't remember, but I think it's easier to do it that way.
Sweet.
But yeah, so but I got super specific, so I have a super specific goal. But if I'm gonna like write something down and try and convince somebody that I should be in their master's program to reach my goal, like I need to back up and be like, why do I actually want this job? And why, what is my, which, I have like, I don't think it's impossible. It's just, you know, trying to. It's interesting to think about. And my biggest, I think, like goal for the next year and a half for myself in terms of like future career stuff is trying to formulate a vision of what I think I want to do in special education and what I would want to, how I would want to lead a special education program, and you know what that vision is, because you can't lead something if you don't have a vision and a picture of what you want to do, and it's a bad idea to just hijack somebody else's. Not because it, you know, somebody else's is bad, but because it's not mine, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, I do think backing up is a really good idea, and looking at what you want to do and why you want to do it. But I don't think you need to like sanitize it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that when you're going towards a very specific goal, it's a lot easier to get emotional, invested, which are good things when you're writing a vision statement and a mission statement for applying to something like this, because you're not going to do it just to do it. Like, nobody wants to become a principal just to say they are a principal. Like, that's not a thing that happens as far as I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some exceptions out there. But like having an actual legitimate goal in mind could probably be pretty helpful in that.
Yeah. Well, and like, we talked about charitable reading much on here? I can't even remember.
Oh, a little bit.
But like, I know that's like my very broad life goal is to be charitable and approach humans from a perspective of loving kindness, right? And which is what I love about my job and special education, because it is just such a straightforward opportunity to to deal with humans who have been, I mean, in so many senses rejected, right? Like, it's the kids who the school said, we can't figure out how to deal with you. Like, it's literally who I work with. The system said, we don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
And so we're going to send you to where a test works. Yeah. Like, that's literally what happens. And so it's a very direct, obvious outworking of trying to see humans in a positive light who other people haven't, and and treat them as humans.
Give a very, very brief overview, if you can, of the place that you work. It's a specialty school, K through 12, and it is for children with dual diagnoses.
Yeah. Well, sometimes dual diagnoses. I mean, it's very, very specifically geared towards students with affective needs, which is the fancy way of saying kids with high behaviors. You know, the kids who are throwing desks and hitting and biting people when they're, you know, asked to do something at school.
Conduct disorders, oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of times it is dual diagnosis with often autism is the is in there.
And from my understanding, most of them don't have specific diagnoses, obviously, because they're under 18, and you can't really fully diagnose somebody with cluster A versus B versus C
or it's at least highly controversial.
Yeah, it's highly controversial to do so.
Yeah.
Because so many things can be conflated, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to diagnose. It like even like with autism, like with young kids, which I'm working in my classroom with kindergarten through 3rd, 4th grade. You know, like the I can't think of the word, but the oh goodness. It's just when you're working with kids, it's a lot harder. The parameters, that's the word I'm looking for. The parameters for diagnoses are not as well defined. Yep, that's what I wanted to say. And we have a very good school psychologist who is willing to like work within the realm of reality instead of just theory, which I appreciate a lot.
And that's the problem with diagnosing children too. It's a very multifaceted thing to try to diagnose a child with a psychological or psychiatric disorder, because first off, it's incredibly difficult to test, confirm, define disorders in children, because you have to use children for that, and that's ethically dubious. And so it's hard to make those parameters in the first place. And then also the thing that you need to avoid is diagnosing a child with something and putting them in a little box.
Oh yeah.
And telling them about that box and how they're expected to act since they've been put in that box. Because children very often want to please their caregivers. They're trying to learn how to interact with the whole world. And part of that is figuring out what their caregivers are expecting from them. And if their caregivers are expecting the behaviors found in the box of that diagnosis, that's how they're going to treat them. And that will propagate sometimes an unnatural or unhelpful view of themselves, which is what you guys are trying to avoid, essentially.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, what I really appreciate about where I work is the emphasis on, you know, everybody has their own story. And a lot of people in their story, they've developed negative tapes, which I know tapes are old, but it's a really good picture in my mind.
I was saying negative vines, but that's old too. But it's that thing that plays in your head on repeat. We all have echolalia. I know that we mostly assign that to people with tics, Tourette's, autism, but that thing that plays in your head when you think of something. So, the one that happened for me this morning was somebody brought home from school tiny 3D printed capybaras, and they're in,
capybaras?
Yeah, so the you know what capybaras
No,
are?
I don't know what capybaras
are. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I grew up in South America. A capybara is like a guinea pig.
Oh, okay.
Except it's about this tall.
Oh, okay.
It's large, it's adorable, it's hilarious, and for a while, I believe it was last year, like 2024, 2025, capybaras were a meme because they're adorable and they're really cute. Side note.
What's the English word, do you know?
Capybara.
Okay.
Side note, they do not taste good.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, just so you know.
Too many things taste.
Yes, I know how too many things taste. If you roast them just right over a spit and baste appropriately, they're okay, especially with pineapple. But, anyways, that's not what the meme was about. The meme was just this thing that repeated over and over as you went through social media, and it was a song that went, capybara, 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 capybara. And every time I see those little 3D printed capybaras, that song plays in my mind on repeat until something else replaces it. So every time I'm cleaning the table right now, my head's going capybara, 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 and that is essentially a tick, an echolalia, something that plays in your head because you have to say it out loud. Yeah, it's a recording in your head that is the default thing that you think of. So when I see it, that's what my head does, and I can't get it out of my head unless I say capybara. Sometimes repeatedly, but it's the same with the memes that we think of and the things that we see, and then behaviors are reinforced in a lot of the same ways, or tapes about who you are.
Yeah.
So if you have a huge memory of you did something and then a parent, a caregiver was reacted in a certain way, sometimes that will play in your head repeatedly when you see something that is related to it.
Yeah.
So it's a meme or a self-replicating concept that propagates in your head and defines your personality and your behaviors.
Yeah. Well, and like to be very specific with students, and I've seen this where they will just say it out loud, and you know it's a tape in their head because they repeat it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm terrible. I'm no good. I'm a bad person. Just very straightforward stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not always as straightforward as that, but I think a lot of times it is the tapes these kids have playing in their heads.
Yeah.
Where they have just severe trauma and and somehow, some way, I don't even know most of the time. It's hard to describe because but as a teacher, I don't get these kids' history downloaded into my brain somewhere, right? Like nobody sits there and tells me, well, their parents said this, and this happened when they were 2, and this happened when they were 3, and this happened that never.
Well,
that's never happened.
They don't necessarily remember when that recording was made either.
Yeah.
Because you call it a tape partially because it's most congruent with a tape. Like with the internet, we can trace down where a lot of things started, which is cool. But back when we had tapes. Yeah. We would record cassette mixtapes for people, and you would listen on the radio for something, you would hit record, and then you would make a tape out of that. But there was no way of tracing back to when that was made, how that was made, what was happening when that was made. But every time you played it, you would hear the same thing exactly as when you first recorded it.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, so they don't necessarily know. I mean, if you spend a lot of time with a kid, you start to get to know some things, right? But it takes a long time, in my experience, to get to know a kid well enough to start to understand, especially when they have trauma, what their brain's doing. Yeah. And it takes. I've known some of these kids for several years, and I'm not saying I understand everything that's going on in their heads, but because I still, even after years, don't know all the things that have happened to them, right?
Well, and nobody does though.
And right, and exactly, nobody does, and that goes, and I think that gets us to okay, so I don't know, I'm never gonna know exactly all of the history of this human being. But it's a human being, and no matter what the story is, no matter what the tapes in their heads are, no matter what their reactions to things are, they're still a human being, and I want to try and treat them with. I thought of a phrase yesterday that I think, because most people, when I say charitable, they hear give money to charity, but I think a good phrase that defines simply very quickly what I think of as charitable is loving kindness, right? Being loving, which again, most people associate with romantic love automatically, right? But when you say loving kindness, I feel like that ties together that idea of charitability is the way I think of it. in that terms of approaching humans, giving them the benefit of the doubt, in that I don't know your story, I don't know, all of the things that have led to this point of you doing something I don't understand, maybe, but I'm still gonna treat you like a human, because I understand as a fellow human that life can be hard and complicated and difficult and hurtful and unfair, and not just assume that you're just evil incarnate or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? But instead assume that
Well,
there's lots of factors going into you behaving the way that you're behaving.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing in charitable reading, right? Is getting over that part where you're right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Right.
And
which is what I consider the opposite of charitable reading.
Exactly. Which is where we started our journey, essentially, which is you're right and everybody else is sinners and you're here to save them and God made you do this so you could save them.
Yeah.
So getting over that you're right and everybody's wrong and going around to the part where, oh, we're all humans trying to human and it sucks on this planet. Something has happened to these people and this is how they're trying to handle it. And I should try to understand that in order to make both of our lives better.
Yeah. And it's hard. I have a hard time with, some of the students I work with where I just I have no experience thinking what they're thinking where empathy is just not an option. I cannot put myself in their shoes.
You can't.
I just I don't know. I'd say that's more common for me than not at my job, where it's just I can't put myself in your shoes and understand what you're thinking. It's not gonna happen. I've not been there. I don't have the things happening in your brain happening in my brain, right? And and then having to start with that, and then but I want to help. Right? I want to help you get to a point where whatever on earth is happening in your brain, which I'll never know, if I'm really honest. I'm never going to know for most of these kids what's happening.
You're never going to know for most people even in the world.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. It's not. There's, when I'm really wanting to help a student, that's probably when I most want to know what's happening in somebody's brain. Man, I wish I just knew so I could say something helpful. But instead of just responding confrontationally, which is, that's such a default, I think, in so much of our culture and so much of our, I don't know, I'm going to go with culture, I guess.
Well,
it's just that it's a confrontational response to things we don't understand.
Well, it feels like a scared victim stance, which leads to confrontation. Because our default often is to assume that someone is out to get us.
Yeah.
That they're trying to hurt us.
Yeah.
And that what they do is designed specifically by them to do that. And it does seem like that is a big part of how those who are in direct care positions, such as nursing or education, end up treating those in their care.
Yeah.
It's like this individual wants to make my life miserable.
Right.
And they're trying to do it by doing this to me.
Yeah.
So it's a victim stance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're scared. Because you think that everybody's trying to hurt you.
Well, and when they're specifically yelling at you and, maybe hitting you or biting you or kicking you in the case of things that happen at my job sometimes, right? It's really hard not to assume that.
Yes.
Right? It's so hard to overcome the instinctual fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? It's those are, your brain automatically triggers, I'm in danger, I need to protect myself. And I mean, and yeah, you need to be safe. Like that's significant to be safe.
Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, doing your best. That's why teaching is a hard job. I think is that like, at least for sure at my job, you have to both take into consideration the safety of you and your staff, and also at the same time take into consideration the safety and mental well-being of the student who's actively trying to harm you.
Yeah.
Right? It's and you know the instinctual amygdala response is not always necessarily the safe response for all parties involved, right?
Yeah.
And trying to and I think you can only do that if you have support, and I don't think you can do that by yourself consistently anyway.
Oh, absolutely
Maybe
not.
every now and then you can pull it off by yourself, but if you don't have help from other people and other staff, like for me and other staff at my work, I don't think you can consistently pull off at the same time making sure everybody's safe. Excuse me, making sure that your safety response is being taken care of, because you have to take care of yourself, right? As well as the you're not lashing out against somebody who's trying to hurt you. The only way you're going to consistently do that is if you have good support. And so when I look away from my very specific job, where I do have lots of support, I always have other almost always have other adults in the room with me while I'm teaching or when something like that's happening. And then I hear from other teachers and people who don't work in the building I work in, and it's like the opposite of that, where the norm is they're by themselves, and that just is insane to me. The norm for education well, for sure in Colorado Springs right now, that's what I can speak to. I'm sure it's probably pretty typical across the country. But is for a teacher to be by themselves in a room with 20 to 30 students. And I would, guess that there's a certain percentage of those students who are on IEPs and have moments of acting out in ways that I see every day where I work, and they don't have help, you know? And that's just madness to me. That really bugs me that they don't have support in schoolrooms, and that as a community, as a culture, we decided that one teacher can somehow respond correctly to the tapes of 30 different kids in a room, and it's just I don't know.
Well, and then the teacher is isolated in that case, but also, as we spoke before about diagnoses for children, a lot of times how we treat those, any demographic really, but how we treat people is often based on a tape in our own head, and that tape is confining them to that box. So we have these diagnoses that we don't want to put the children at your work in, because they'll act that way just to fulfill expectations. But we have a larger box that is dedicated to, this is how kindergartners act, and it sucks. This is how 1st through 3rd graders act, and it sucks. And we put one teacher, sometimes with a little bit of help, in a room with 20 to 40.
Well, I hope it's not 40.
I've never
heard 40.
But anyways, we put one person who's already probably scared in some ways into a large group of these people who have been confined to, let's say, the middle schooler box. The middle schooler box that we reinforce as a culture is these people are incredibly obnoxious. They care about nothing but 6'7", and we give them a set of memes that allows them to relate to each other, but also allows us to put them in a separate box and put them over here. This is middle schoolers. They suck because of these reasons, and we hate them because of these reasons, essentially. So you put all those people over there, you tell them that's how they act. They act that way so that they can be accepted in that culture specifically. And then we send somebody in and expect everything to go swimmingly. And that does not make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
And a lot of it is a lack of charitable reading, because we're not treating each other as humans in that case. We are essentially treating each other as diagnoses.
Yeah.
You could say, I diagnose you with middle schooler. As such, this is your plan of action. As such, I will treat you as befits your plan of action. It's a difficult place to be.
Well, it is. And it makes it really hard to get to a point where I can teach the kids in my class to the point where they can go back to their home schools.
Yeah.
Like
homeschool this
the
way,
school
not
they
being,
came from.
yeah, it being the actual school that is in their district that
Yeah.
they should be going to
Yeah.
as per zoning regulations and age. Not because when a lot of people think here homeschool, they're homeschool, what they're thinking is you're going to send them back and their parents are going to teach them.
Yeah.
So very different definitions here.
Yeah. But and like it's hard to because me and even leadership at my school see leadership at students' home schools having very negative biases towards kids who come to my school. It's very like we it's hard to come to a place where we can trustingly send them back to their home school, not thinking that they're going to get suspended with the first little thing that goes wrong. And which is ridiculous. Like they have the struggles they have. They have the things going on in their brains they have going on, right? It's not magically going away. Right? No matter how they're still human, right? No matter how many tools they learn and skills they develop, they're gonna have bad days. They're gonna have bad moments, right? I mean, we all do. We all have bad days.
Yeah.
Right? And if the automatic thing that's gonna happen is when they have a single bad day is they get suspended, or it's not actually treating them as a human who has been through so many things where people have recognized that they have difficulties in certain areas, right? They're like, like the fact that they came to my school and they worked on these things, right? It's so like I feel like that it's not recognized. Like there's an expectation that when they go back, they're gonna be magically fixed, and I think that's such a messed up expectation for the homeschool to have, for the culture to have.
Well,
that,
and
that,
when
that
you
we're,
say fixed, what you mean is
right,
you
which
think
is
that they're going to magically be able to figure out how to conform to social situations in every context without any difficulties or special accommodations.
Right.
Which I don't know about you, but I've never been able to do. I just don't think anybody reads the room well enough for that.
No, yeah. And it's especially, I mean, it's going to be especially hard for kids who already ended up having to be at high school, right? Like, it's been clearly observed by many people that it's exceptionally hard for them. Right? That's how they ended up at my school in the first place.
Yeah.
And we don't do magic, right? Like, it's just not. If they get to if the students in my school get to the point where we think they might be able to go back, that's with it might, I mean, my assumption is that's with support, that's with help, that's with all of these things that are supposed to be part of the special education program.
Right, but we have taken so many resources away from our school system.
Oh yeah.
So what you're doing there is the school is saying, oh yeah, we'll take them back. That's fine. The teacher will deal with it.
Yep.
But what you're doing is taking this teacher who already is dealing with 20 children diagnosed with middle schooler.
Yep.
All by themselves, and you're saying, oh, also this person requires 3 hours with extra attention in your 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And we're just saying, oh, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to get suspended.
Yep.
That teacher cannot leave 20 other people diagnosed with middle school to their own devices while they deal with one person who has very specific sensory or emotional needs. It's not a fair thing to do.
Nope. But like, most schools, as far as I know, aren't set up to provide that extra support really that those kids need. And I go to school with other special education teachers, and so many of them are working in regular general education populations. That's close to me. And they're like, in some cases, they're the only special education teacher at a school of at least 600 kids. Right, and you can't. I know at least one person in my class who has 60 IEPs on their caseload.
Statistically speaking, at least 10% of these people are going to have any sort of special need whatsoever, and that's a very, very, very conservative estimate.
Yeah.
So that 600-person school is going to have at least 60 people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, very conservative estimate.
Yep.
Who need special considerations when it comes to education.
Yeah. Well, and even in schools where there's more than one special education person, it's still very much a, I feel like the emphasis is not so much on the ability to support the general education teacher and actually like have co-teaching opportunities. It's more of a, it's like a hedging situation where it's like, you work with these kids a little bit, and then if something goes wrong, you need to be there to solve it. And which, first of all, like, what are the odds of them being there to solve it when things are not very high?
Well, you see, they think of special education less as a teacher and more of Disney's Merlin.
Yeah.
From The Sword in the Stone. It's less of an actual teacher there with you at every point, and more of like this magical being with a long beard that blows in from Aruba when the time is right.
Yep.
And goes bippity boppity, pull out the sword, and everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just really not a fair
consideration. And that's how it works in real life. How they teach us what even in my, I'm going to school to be a special education teacher, and they teach us that ideally, based on studies and all this, the ideal situation would be to have a general education teacher and a special education teacher in every room co-teaching.
Oh, but then we would have to pay teachers.
Yeah. Do you know how many places have that? 0.
Your place.
Well, yeah, my place.
So
sort of.
I'm hearing this voice of my past self screaming in my head right now, and it is saying, obviously, the solution is homeschooling.
Oh, geez.
Why is that not the solution, Tess?
Oh, man.
We have five children.
Oh, yeah.
So, statistically speaking, fortunately for us, this has not happened yet, but I'm sure it will at some point. One of them will be high emotional or functional needs. What would it look like if we had to homeschool at least one of our children?
We can't afford it. That's honestly the most practical reason. Like, we can't afford for one of us to not be working and staying home and teaching the kids. That's bottom line, realistically speaking, and the case for many people. The second thing is that a lot of parents aren't necessarily good teachers. Just because you have kids doesn't make you a good teacher, right? Like, it's not. Yeah, like.
Having a uterus does not.
Yeah.
Or sperm.
Yeah,
either way,
right.
Whichever way it goes, honestly.
You don't have to go through training to become a parent, right? And just because you have kids, doesn't. Yeah. But
just because you have birthed a child, you have created a child, does not mean that you are good at child.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
or that you know the functional and emotional needs of your child.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but like school and that whole world, I think, is one of the rare spaces we have left that is communal, and begins to get at teaching kids what living in community is outside. Forget academia, just for a second, and I think that's a really key role of school in culture, is to teach, especially our culture where community is not the
basically
most emphasized.
Non-existent. We have lived here for a year and a half. And this morning is the first time I have seen the face of the person who lives on the other side of this wall right here.
Yeah.
I can see their heads bobbing above the fence as we speak. And I have never seen that person in person in a year and a half of living here. I still don't know their name.
Yeah.
I just know that they came over and knocked on our door to let us know that our dog was out, which was very kind.
Yeah, it was.
But I still don't know who that person is.
Yeah. No, we're really...
We still don't... I know nothing except that was a female with brown hair.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Probably about 5'3". That's it.
Yeah.
That and their house is reddish.
Yeah, and we're not set up to be in community with the people we live in proximity of, which is crazy, historically speaking.
So she told us our dog was out. I went out to chase the dog. I chased the dog around our block, the next block, several blocks. And there was a huge snowstorm last night, 1.5 feet of snow. So a lot of people were out snow blowing and shoveling.
Helped.
Some of them tried to help, which was very kind of them. They didn't chase the dog because they know that huskies will just run if you do that. But they did try to call the dog over. Somebody even did it from the window on their second floor, which was super sweet. But I saw more people out than I had ever seen out on our street.
Yeah.
And I don't know a name of any of those people.
Yep.
This is the first time I've seen them outside.
Yeah.
We were just talking about a couple nights ago how it's kind of creepy that when we go into our backyard, we face a row of houses. And we've never seen a light on in those houses. There's people who live there. We haven't seen lights on. The weird antisocial culture that we are in is terrifying.
Yeah.
But if you were to go back to not where we started necessarily, but if you were going to solve the problem that you have of children not getting the support that they need and teachers not getting the support that they need in the first place, so we could start rebuilding that communal space to be a place that works for everyone and not just neurotypicals, what are 2 things that you would do? You have to pick 2.
Well, it's a system problem. So, I don't know. That's a really tough one because you have to have a world where community matters, and like I don't even know where to start with that one.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a world where the world can afford for there to be support for the difficult situations. And I mean, my gut reaction is my anti-capitalist thoughts.
That's fair.
Because that's the only, like, you can't, like, you know, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, the school's like, oh, we can't afford it, right? We can't afford to have 2 co-teachers in every room.
For 20 children. 20 to 40 children.
Yeah,
Hopefully not 40 children.
Nobody does it. No, it's almost non-existent. Apparently it's happened in places because I've seen videos of it. But in my real world experience, it doesn't happen. Yeah. And because then you have to pay 2 teachers. It's doubles everybody's budget, right? in theory, and they won't do it. So you have to have a system that is either willing to pay the money, or is actually works in a way that people can I don't know, you know, the whole where we actually take care of each other in a village sort of a way. Where I'm looking out for not just my kids, but you know, I'm living my life and that kid's losing their mind and I can go help out and I'm not considered a dangerous, creepy stranger, right? I mean, I don't even, like, that's just the very beginning of starting to think about the idea, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a long ways from where we are currently. Like, it's hard for me to even see the path to get there because we are so far from that in the culture we have right now. Like, it is light years, in my opinion.
Well, that is fair, but bleak.
I know.
What could one individual, for instance myself, do one time or one time a day that would actually help that be a thing?
I mean, I again, my opinion is, you know, just starting. We live so much in the stranger danger world, and I know kind of where it came from, and I understand that, like, there's just so much fear and demonization of other humans behind the stranger danger world, right? And I know people are scared for the kids, and there's so many terrible things that have happened. So it's scary almost to even say what my thought is on the topic. But my thought on the topic is we need, and we can only do it one person, one situation at a time, is starting to realize slowly that strangers are other humans. And instead of assuming the worst first, because that's what we've been taught to do. That's what stranger danger is. You always assume the worst first about another human who you don't know that you've come into contact with. That's the definition of stranger danger, right? And it's the opposite of charitable reading. It is the opposite of assuming that the other human is a human who's doing their best and and is probably going to interact with you, you know, as just another human, and probably gonna try to help if something's wrong, right? Like that's most of the time that's what's gonna happen.
Right. Well, that's
most of the time the other human's not trying to kidnap you, right? That's generally not the case.
Most of the time.
Well, sure.
Well, but it's also part of why we teach our children specifically how we teach our children.
Yeah.
Like, if you are lost in a crowd, if you are lost anywhere, find somebody who is showing self-expression.
Yeah. For
They're
sure.
more likely to not care what things they're thinking. They're more likely to not be trying to fit in to a world that could potentially be dangerous. They're more likely to not do the wrong thing or ignore you. Find somebody with lots of tattoos. Find somebody who's wearing clothes that are like no one else.
Right.
Find someone with spiky hair and all the piercings. Just find what society would say is the outcast, because they are going to be so much more likely to help.
Yeah. And you know, and like be honest about situations. Like if somebody's like creepily trying to manipulate you into something, right? It's good to know what that is, but
Yeah.
But just to teach kids and humans to automatically assume every other human is the bad guy, that's what we've done. That's how we got here. And it's not, I don't think it's good. I think and I think it's going to take a lot to change that.
Yeah, it also takes a societal change to change that.
Yeah.
But we can start.
Yeah.
Alright, we need to take a break.
Yes.
Need to hydrate, etc. And then we can come back and I can talk about my job.
Oh dear.